Envy by Counterlogic Gaming. And we'll see a bit of the same here for the first few bans for the jungle and top laners.
Bunch of power picks coming through, and these are pretty much tier 1 picks across the board. Kind of the split pusher. Galio is actually more mid lane than top lane nowadays. Still is definitely flexible, but getting that one off the board. And there's the LeBlanc taken away from Niski. They still do have, option of the Syndra, but I was very curious to see, how many of the old junglers who have tons of games on Rek'Sai are going to get back in here on the new Rek'Sai, where on 7-12, they've made up for a lot of the kind of problems with the ultimate, where it was easily dodgeable and people were even walking out of it sometimes. Not only did they fix that, they also upped Rek'Sai's damage. So it's definitely an early game jungler. She has so much more damage. It is a very different playstyle from what you're used to seeing if you remember the tank Rek'Sais, and trying to get multi-man knockups.
A little bit scary. We'll see how Dardoch plays it. It plays right to his style, as we know what he has had in his wheelhouse lately of Elise, Lee Sin, and Jhin also getting picked up a little more lately. A few buffs towards him, but nothing huge. Yeah,
in 7-12, you got a bit of extra damage ratio on the Q, as well as some damage on the ultimate.
Yeah.
A lot of people, though, are just really excited to play him again with a small amount of buffs because of some of the item builds. And people have been sort of enlightened into the double energizers of, Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon. And Jhin does convert a lot of the, attack speed and crit stats into damage anyways. And people are kind of having fun with that one. Also, we've seen the Death's Dance variation. I feel like that one's a little bit more solo queue. Regardless, Tahm Kench and, playmaking support have been back. Yeah, he is picked up here in answer to the Thresh. It's kind of one of those classic ones where the Thresh is then going to probably switch focus, and start hooking and flaying in Tahm Kench so they can focus the Kench instead of the Jhin. As Kench is very good at getting anyone else out of being picked.
Envy as well with a great pickup of Varus Thresh to start Apollo and Haku off in the bot lane, making sure that, Apollo is up there on Freak's 80 carry list, get that bot lane going. Lyra's playing decently well in the jungle, goes for his Nidalee, and Envy's looking to start things off firing here.
Yeah, it does look like some comfortable picks for Envy. Hakuo's Thresh, he's had a lot of games on that. He feels very comfortable. He's one of those solo queue Thresh players that put so much time into it. And the same for Lyra. He was one of the first in North America to use the Nidalee. Definitely, as watched a little bit of Cuz from Korea and talked a little bit, but Lyra has done Nidalee multiple different ways, even Trinity Force and auto attack Nidalee. Mostly now it is back to the AP, but here we go. Some cross-map plays. You talked about, maybe playing off that bottom lane and playing around Apollo and Hakuo and the success that they've had. Now Seraph on the Shen, perfectly set up to do that. Can get down there with Staying United.
Also watching Seraph as well. The few games I remember of him, he kind of itemized very interesting for the game, and it did not help the team actually hurt a bit. So we'll keep an eye on what he's doing throughout the laning phase and actually what he's building towards to help the team. Shouldn't be too different on Shen, but he is going to go up against some damage. Jarvan has been locked in. Looks like this could be going to Darshan in most cases with that Rek'Sai in the game.
Yeah, definitely going to think so. And the Jarvan nowadays, pretty good answer to Shen, I have to say, with the armor shredding, as well as very easy knockups to pressure the lane and then keep the Shen within range to be able to stop those ults. He's Aurelion Sol.
I think, is this for the Ori lane play? So they have the triple ball comp, but yeah, who has let Aurelion Sol through for CLG late?
Well, so that's the thing, right? It's always difficult with CLG because they will not just blind pick Aurelion Sol all the time.
Right.
Huhi will use it when he feels like there are good side lanes to roam to, like he can get kills, on the side lanes. And into Niski, who is a new mid laner here in North American LCS.
Strongest champ for him.
It is, yeah. This is definitely going to put some pressure on him, especially on Cassiopeia, because you can't really keep up with the speed of the roams and the map pressure of the Aurelion Sol. So I'm very, very interested to see if, Huhi starts to make those early moves with Dardoch, because that's been one of the big strengths there for CLG, is trying to get both of those guys to work together in the early game. And Aurelion Sol just opens it wide up for a jungler. Feels so good when your mid laner is pushing from literally level 1 and dropping into the fog of war and looking to roam around. Like, the early plays are definitely a possibility here.
And this is what kind of I wonder as well, the Tom Clench, is that going to click for CLG? We see that the Bard has been so big for so many teams. 4 or 5 plays, 100% win rates. Ole's got that, a few others, but they keep going for the Tom Kench. It can get around the map with the Aurelion Sol, but so can the Journeys, and I feel like that is what plays the Aframu's style. With that being said, like as I mentioned, waiting for this Tom Kench to click, maybe they can get it to happen here.
Yeah, everybody pretty excited about that one. CLG has had such a high priority on it.
Yeah.
Definitely taking their cue from Korea. And we shall see how Aframoon Stixay stack up. Definitely a lot of kill pressure there. Don't underestimate the licks.
No, do not. As we said, Kench will make you clench. Heading out to lane. It's like they tried to, CLG had a pretty big hit on what was going on with the jungle yesterday when they played Immortals. They tried to take Xmithy down. We'll see if they get in the face of Lyra here a little bit more than usual.
All right, just going to spread out to the standard defense. Nidalee actually starting traps this time, so a little trick for you guys. If the Nidalee starting traps, it's probably going to be just a regular Raptor clear, and maybe she'll go for an invade after that, but generally, especially, I always go back to Cuz when I'm thinking about Nidalee Paz, the previously rank 1 jungler in Korea, but he plays a ton of Nidalee, and I always scrub his VODs. He starts Q when he's going for buff to buff invades. If he starts on his buff, if you see him level up the Q, then he's probably going to start on his on one of his buffs and go for an immediate invade into the opposite buff of the enemy jungler. He'll start traps in pretty much any other case where you want to get multiple traps on the Raptors, because the way that the traps and your pounce interact is that your pounce gets reset for everyone that you get to do onto one of these enemies with a trap on it. Doesn't matter now as they're getting invaded though. Darshan wants to grab some.
Niski and Huhi going back and forth. This is actually a lot of pressure on Niski, as much as it obviously is on Lyra and what's happening in the jungle, because if they can get Lyra off course, he won't be helping Niski as much.
Yeah, and look at that. They just defend his Raptors really well there.
Yeah.
Nobody was able to steal one away for CLG. Niski also got a very good tray onto Huhi here and has blown the exhaust in exchange for that ghost that he used to get up there. So actually a very good defense for Envy. And you talk about putting the pressure on Niski early on in this game, Riv. He answered it pretty well right there, defending his jungler. Let's see if Lyra will return in kind and, gravitate towards that mid lane to try and keep this Aurelion Sol under control. Because people know, you give Huhi just a little bit of an opening early in the game, and it really does start to get out of control and snowball from there. But if you keep Aurelion Sol from snowballing early, then he becomes very, very weak later on.
So that's the thing with Huhi, is we have that even lane and then clear and back, clear and back. Here they're looking to give him that option again by taking Niski out.
And this was a Dardoch. Again, he's running an experience rune, which is something he did yesterday. Went for the 2 camps into Scuttle yesterday for his gank. This time it was just a standard 3 camp after the failed stop on the Raptors. But his presence in mid lane is kind of getting Huhi regaining control of this mid lane. And it's the thing we referred to in Champ Select, where you want to rely on this Aurelion Sol constantly having the pushing power in mid lane to then drop into the Fog of War, because that will make all your other lanes have to play much more cautiously, and with the threat of Huhi's roam.
Oh, he's been a fast early roamer. May have to be stuck in lane here. There's that pressure from Dardoch. Huhi finally gets the back after a few clears and says, Dark Seal, so I can get more out of these corruption charges, and we can stay in lane and farm it out.
And the control word. So he has a guaranteed one side of the mid lane that he knows will not have any vision for Envy, and he can sneak down probably, to bottom side to try and pressure Apollo and take out some of the strongest performing members of Envy currently.
Ooh.
Invade here from Lyra.
Just seeing him on the outside, getting the tremor sense. Gromp wants to be a part of the party. Wow, spears are just missing for Lyra right now. Good dodge by Dardoch.
Yeah, a couple spears in the dark, just barely. Dardoch doesn't see him to stop. Lyra did see Dardoch jump over, though. And he wasn't moving, so didn't get any of those tremor sense notifications. Meanwhile, though, you know, Niski on the Cassiopeia, so far doing well, but Huhi already off to one of those early roams. It's a good sign that I would think that was communicated, because Huhi put down his control ward in the top side, so he could roam up to the top side and went through the jungle. But Niski, we have to assume that he's the one telling Seraph there that the Aurelion Soul is probably on the way, and that's why Seraph just dropped into the brush, gave up a couple CS, but avoids an Aurelion Soul gank.
Bit of action as we go back down to the bottom lane. Haven't been here since pretty much early 37 to, actually 38 to 38 as they continue to level Doran shield still for Stixxay. And we see a little bit of a change here with the nerf to that in purchase cost. Now Apollo picking up the sword. It's either or these days.
Ooh, that one hits.
You only need a few that count. The ones that count are the ones that give you that advantage in the game. Lyra actually pushed up as well, so working together here, he's forced to farm this wave, and Lyra trying to make an impact in the jungle.
Getting that invade down, and really the important part there is, yeah, he did steal the big raptor, and it's, you know, a little bit of gold, but the vision coverage takes out the control ward, plants down some extra, you know, Envy comfort here in the red quadrant with just that one ward, and the raptor brush provides, you know, a lot of security for this side of the map. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, they're trading pretty decently here, and CLG trying to push out this lane so they can get a little bit of time to back. Still plenty of potions for everybody in the bottom lane, though. The trading hasn't been, you know, that active. There actually are not ignites being taken in this lane, as both sides are taking exhaust for the junglers of the enemy teams.
Oh, hello, Dardoch. Found it. Looks like, whoa, he's just going to get soloed out here. Flash over the wall. One last hit. He dips into the ground for a bit of HP. But the kill is still found by Seraph. First blood.
Yeah, I guess he wanted it. So he really wanted to finish that Krug kill before he left, but took an extra auto there, and he's not able to unburrow under Seraph to get a knockup on Seraph after flashing away, and Seraph able to get a very big start here. That was first blood bonus gold going over to a Shen, who's now level 6 with teleport still active.
So no pressure, just kind of, oh, all right, thank you very much.
So as soon as you see the Shen, Dardoch has to respect the Shen, but he does not. He goes back under for the knockup there. You know, Seraph got the taunt off, and then absolutely destroys him. So no respect from Dardoch to Seraph. He gets punished and gives away first blood.
Already looking to make an impact mid. Oh, they call Seraph forward. The level 6 is going to be a big impact. His flash is down, so they don't have the full connect, but they get Dardoch again. He comes up, he goes down, and all of Envy lives. The flag and drag coming in with the flash from Darshan, trying to make it look good, but there are too many shields. There's too much CC. Seraph's going to go down. One last link. Another shield comes through, but that's Darshan with the strike. And he takes another one down. 2 kills for the top laner as he rotates in. Is it a third? That one goes to Kuki. CLG repair the gank.
Oh my goodness. Dardoch is not having a good game, but Darshan comes in to clean up the mess. Afromu then flashes to save him with the Devour, and Darshan ends up living through the whole thing because they have no more burst left after that extra kill. CLG rights the ship just in time because it was about to spiral out of control with those plays as Envy continually catching out the Rek'Sai, but this time around, it's a complete turnaround for CLG. Here it is, the beginning. Huhi really good, saving his ultimate for as soon as he sees the Shen about to come in and gets it off. Again, Dardoch gets taunted up, even though he has the knockup go off. He goes down very quickly. Darshan, though, comes in to save the day. Demacia is here, and then Afromu jumps in with the Devour. Perfect timing, allowing Darshan to then survive afterwards with the health potions running and with the extra kills coming through. CLG able to kind of save the early game there with that play. 2 good roams from the CLG members there.
A very active Envy, though. Everything that's really happened here. Seraph top, and we saw that Niski taking the ult, saying, we have the stand united, let's engage mid.
We have to definitely like what we're seeing from Envy here. You know, the proactive plays, they punished the Rek'Sai because there was no flash. Here's a proactive play from CLG, though.
That's the 3rd lick. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Thresh? Just one more. That's going to be a bite from the Queen. Dardoch gets that one in on Rek'Sai, and now Apollo. He is left in a very bad spot. Flag drag misses. Good flash coming in, but now he's stuck in the Cataclysm. The light back to Lyra, bounces him, and he can't come up for the kill or the heal as well. And they get another kill. CLG starting to really strangle out Envy.
Yeah, the two solo laners for CLG are now 2-0-2 for both of them. And you talked about Aurelion Sol, just one small opening for Huhi, and he starts to take over the game. Constant roams come through. He's got his upgraded boots already, powering through with 3 more stacks on his Dark Seal.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's take another look at it. One of the other things about Jhin, so good at starting these fights long range and allowing time for the other members to take part. Teleport came in from Darshan, so he's just leisurely here, cutting off the escape from Apollo. He has his ultimate and an extra gap closer, so even though Varus has both summoners available, they know that Flash is the only thing that would save him from the Cataclysm, and after his Flash is blown, there's no hope for him. Darshan just gets him in that cage, and Huhi's able to take him down.
Few quick kills here for Counterlogic Gaming. More of what we expected to see. If you saw the Immortals CLG game yesterday, CLG has been a very bloody team in this split, winning through getting those advantages and a few kills, and then being able to find them again. No turrets come out of this just yet. I'm sorry, one turret on the bot lane as they did get first blood. Yeah. And then they continue to move this. This allows Aphromu to open up, and now they start to get these Abyssal Voyages that can bring them around the map.
And Envy are trying to answer back on the bottom side with some pressure, but Aphromu, as you mentioned, coming right back down as soon as Stixxay is under pressure, and they should be able to defend just fine. Meanwhile, CLG, with vision of those 3 members of Envy down bottom, should be able to completely take over Red Quadrant here in the Envy jungle, and they do just that with a bunch of vision being laid behind. Anytime you start to lose just a little bit of map control, it starts to explode against an Aurelion Sol team. The vision comes through in your jungle, Aurelion Sol starts to roam around, and it becomes very difficult to track him. The important thing for Envy right now is holding on to the remaining outer turrets. The longer you can hold on to those, the more safely you can farm out and try and keep track of that Aurelion Sol, because once those go down, it really starts to get scary. You mentioned the Abyssal Voyage, but as well, the roaming can come through from Aurelion Sol as well as Darshan. And Envy looks to be grouping at the moment to try and avoid such a case.
Apollo, rest of the team still being proactive. Lyra just on the back here. The vision in numbers. It doesn't seem like they want to take the fight. Probably more than happy to get a skirmish if they do, but in and out is the goal here. Lyra, however, pushing that to the limits as they just taunt CLG in their own jungle. And
it is a bit difficult for Envy because Cassiopeia early on tries to build into scaling items, into these mana items that take a while to buff up. Rod of Ages, the tier, those types of things take a bit longer. And Niski right now doesn't have a lot of AP, so doesn't really want to take any of these fights, and is constantly having to use his summoners defensively, as you saw there, ultimate and both of them blown.
Really only had a flash up for maybe about 3 minutes of this entire game, right? If it's down for 5, you're going to be waiting a while after having used it. So Rift Herald over to Counterlogic Gaming. No real movement here from Envy as they're coming out of base still. CLG is working very quick with open windows, and they're able to shut the door right on Envy before they even get into the process. Rift Herald goes as Dardoch absorbs the arrow.
Much cleaner game plan from CLG this time. They're sticking to their composition. They've drafted for this roaming for Aurelion Sol. They want to take down these turrets. That's your #1 goal in the early game, is get those outer turrets, as we mentioned, so that you have more space to work with. Rift Herald is the best objective in doing that. Also, there's a Mountain Drake up, so they would definitely want to get that for extra turret killing power, and that helps for late game as well. Once your turrets are down, you can pressure those neutral objectives. So Envy right now, they've just given up the Rift Herald as CLG took it very quickly. They would like to not seed a Mountain Drake on top of that as well, because those two things together just kind of remove so many of your possible defenses to wait for that scaling of the Cassiopeia and wait for those items to stack up. As of right now, though, Envy are having a hard time of remaining a step ahead of CLG due to the pace of this game. Currently, Dardoch back in that red quadrant. He's counter jungling. even as Darshan gets chased out of top lane, making it a little bit more risky for him.
You see how much resource Envy is putting into finding just these hits, though. Can Hakuo hit the hook? Can he get a lantern for Lyra in? And then can we get out of this situation? Because they know CLG is too strong. And this game could have gone so different if Envy walked away from killing Dardoch in mid again. He had just spawned, and then he went back down. But Darshan had a big roam from the top side, and that has swung this game.
Exactly. The team play and the communication on display pretty early in this game, which they were sorely lacking yesterday in their game versus Immortals. CLG back out to the pace that you kind of expect from them, as you said, though.
Darshan absorbing top. Could be a 2v1 in mid. They did call down Seraph. I wonder if Darshan gets a free lane here if they can just absorb the fight. He will continue to push. Abyssal Voyage comes in. Looks like Aframu wants to be a part of this one. Stick stays right in the front line as well. Seraph, the dash and flash. Dardoch way down behind the lines. Here comes their curtain call, but everybody closes the curtains, and they get Seraph to safety.
Regardless, though, large chunks of health have been taken out, so they activate that Rift Herald that they just spent their time on getting, and this is going to be another outer turret taking a big hit.
The teleport's in. Darshan.
Oh!
Darshan actually didn't stay top lane. He comes down to fight with the team, so this could be a lot of turrets if it works. If Envy holds it off, they protect top, and they can keep what they have. Words are hard, but everybody disperses.
And in the end, the turret is dead. Main objective is accomplished for Counter Logic Gaming. Envy had a decent collapse there, though. But as you saw, Apollo lands his ultimate onto Darshan, who is the frontline member who they're dumping a large amount of damage into. But this Tahm Kench comes up big again. Aframu able to eat him up, even though the Chains of Corruption then does spread to Aframu himself. And he ends up taking a large amount of damage. He still gets the lowest health member out of the focus fire from the enemy team and allowed CLG to disengage. So the top Kench pick as well coming in big for them. Multiple Abyssal Voyages, Aframu roaming, able to save his teammates, and participate in all except one kill for himself.
Lyra doing a nice job at clearing the wards out. CLG just placed. They had pretty good vision towards the top red side. It's dark now, but doing a much better job at leaving what I call breadcrumb wards. On their way in, they should make sure to leave the vision, so on the way out it's safe, and they can rinse and repeat. Here they have enough vision forward that Dragon, again, uncontested for them, and this is what we're talking about. You get these mountains, and you're not going to give Niski time to scale if your turrets and objectives are falling.
Mountain Drakes are perfect for this team composition. CLG can continue to pressure multiple points on the map and really abuse that mobility of the Aurelion Soul. Currently, they also have teleport advantage with Darshan, even though the Stand United cooldown coming up very quickly. This Jarvan counter pick up in the top side. Armor penetration that we talked about in Champ Select is coming through. Black Cleaver's already done, so that on top of your Q with Jarvan makes you a very big threat to the Shen. And Darshan has come up with not only good 1 versus 1 plays where Seraph on the top side, but also the team engages for himself and saving the early game as he did, roaming down to that mid lane.
I mean, if he hasn't been staying top because it's been a criticism that it could be split, but the team's calling for him, then he has to have the better engages. He's been on Fiora, Camille lately, the Jarvan, and now it's starting to come about where he's hitting those marks.
And this is why I just love Jarvan right now. Let's take a look at this exchange here, though. Still have a little bit of speed there.
Yeah.
All right, this is why I really love Jarvan, though, is because he can multitask. And he's kind of that Swiss Army knife of top laners. He's got engage, he has,
They have engaged as well. That's the hook. Aframu is just toying with Hakuo and Seraph here. Just gobbles him up, spits him out, but there's still no retaliation. Envy spread thin, but they have 2 in the bot. If this is held in the top, Envy can find some turrets with that attack speed onto Apollo. That damage he has isn't great, but they'll be able to take one down.
And Envy, they're just so pressured right now. They're trying to trade objectives, but CLG are getting 2 for 1 on their trades.
That's the deal I like. Every time I'll take it.
Buy one, get one free.
Just misses. And they're going to be on their way out. Summoner is decently up here for CLG, so if they do overstay their welcome, it shouldn't be too bad, as Envy is still looking to collapse. Still looking to kind of find their bearings. It's only a 2,000 gold lead, but CLG is working them around the map.
Exactly. The thing that's scary is the map control that CLG are going to get with their turret advantage. There are no more turrets on the top side of the map at all for EnVy leading up to their inhibitor turret. So the second push that comes through, which is already going to be informed by these deep wards that CounterLogic Gaming left through up there, is going to be very difficult. So EnVy need to get out in front of it. They're trying to get some warding of their own done right now. And the Scuttle Crab will be a big boon to them as well. So far, everybody overloading here on the top side. Remember, though, that Darshan still has teleport, so it's a possibility CLG make a counterplay.
This is where it becomes scary. You have not been on this side of the jungle for quite some time. You may have the wards, but it's only one way that CLG needs to get in. Very nice blast cone.
Yeah, I think that was a necessary flash from Lyra, because one more auto actually gets completed there, then the Devour comes through. And at that point, it's too late. Darshan, is he going to go for it?
Full team.
Oh, he is!
Full team Cat, can he get it in there? He's going to get 3 in the mix. Can they save Darshan and get him out as well? The stun goes over onto Stixxay, dodging out a lot of damage, and EnVy just absorb the heck out of that fight and say, what next?
Yeah, good defensive ultimates. Thresh ultimate, the Varus ultimate, and the Cassiopeia ultimate, all very good peeling tools, and they all are used in that fight to answer Darshan's initiation very effectively.
Gotta be careful with those ults down. Still feel like there's more damage that can come out of CLG very quick right now, but both teams back off. Stixxay had backed all the way to base, and we'll get a reset. It looks like Darshan's gonna start maybe not living in the bot lane just yet. With his teleport down, he could be with the team.
That was a very important defense for Team EnVy, because now the global pressure is back in their table here. Seraph can split push on the bottom side. He has Stand United. He also has his teleport, and the scaling that we mentioned from Cassiopeia is continuing to. Lyra though.
That's the look before you leap situation where he did not absolutely zeroed out. Stand United is down as well. The teleport is the cross map play, and we'll see how CLG answers.
Well, they're answering with Baron pressure at 21.5 minutes. Already headed into the Baron pit, have true sight, and starting it up.
That's how it plays, Kobe. We just mentioned, EnVy's able to get on that side of the map, but it's been a while. There isn't enough vision. It takes out Lyra, and the 50-50 is now up in the air, but all in the favor of CLG. That's going to be a very dead Huhi in the beginning. Darshan now could go low. EnVy may have the retaliation they need. Dardoch, not the tankiest, but Hakuo's hook is not in range just yet. Flashes are there to continue the play, complete the lantern. The turret's low, and it looks like they're just going to go for the minions.
CLG will be very happy to get out of that with just 1 kill going over, and they're going to stay around to actually defend this turret with the Baron up minions here. It's pretty easy for them. EnVy do have Lyra going mid lane though, to get a little pressure there maybe.
See what happens. This isn't the best Baron wave clearing team with these 3 up here. Even you have an AD carry, but it's just not cutting it right now. And Lyra can only push that wave to mid here. They only have time to kind of set things up. CLG push them right off that pedestal when they try to activate their strategy.
And this is why we talked about how the biggest thing for CLG is the map control that they've gotten with taking all these turrets. There's so much of the map that was dark for EnVy. Lyra had no idea that Darshan had slipped into there, and exactly, once your mobility is down, pretty easy for them to take this pick, and this is a very decisive 21.5-minute Baron call because they have a Mountain Drake, and they killed the enemy jungler. It's pretty much the perfect scenario for them to do it.
Whoops. There's an ult.
Oh, Stixxay hits him.
Still feel like it's worth chasing a little bit here. Aphromoo has mid lane. I mean, with Baroned up minions, you could have like 1 guy sit in the mid. Just make sure they don't get to that turret. Interesting way that CLG can play right now. Such an upper hand in the game, and they're using it accordingly, not allowing EnVy to really stop this snowball.
Yeah, this is almost completely the opposite CLG from what we saw yesterday. They've been extremely proactive. Yeah, they're definitely playing the game. Everybody's getting involved in the game with roams from all of their members. And they have been extremely decisive in a lot of their calls as well. Whether it is, going on the fight with, Tom Kench Ultimate and Aurelion Sol Roam, or immediately collapse on the Baron. 1 kill, moving over with that vision. Another Mountain Drake is actually very bad news for EnVy.
And another. Oh no, Ocean. Okay, it's Ocean. Oh, 1 miss, 1 hit. Is that the follow-up Chain of Corruption? a lot used. This turret seems much harder to control now for EnVy without those ultimates, without that crowd control, and Stixxay will approach the turret basically alone as the team has time to walk over. Take some damage for it though.
They're trying to stall right now for the split push of Seraph. EnVy still have the same game plan now that they had 10 minutes ago in this game, basically. They're trying to hold off until this Baron buff expires, and gonna be a difficult task for them to accomplish.
He's backing, hit himself in the brush. It doesn't look like CLG has given any worry to either what's happening in the bot lane anyways. He's not gonna take the turret down immediately, so it's all that pressure with Darshan coming over in the mid lane, and now they are split in the 1-4 of mid and bot.
Darshan gets a decent chunk on the mid lane turret. CLG continue to press 2 lanes at the same time. Gotta be a little bit scared about going for the dive, even with the lead, because as we keep bringing it up, the gold lead isn't at that really excessive point. Oh, the hook onto Dardoch. He gets devoured.
The only thing you can hope for is that you get that cooldown and you can hit maybe Stixxay now, and the Devour's not up, but CLG knows the situation. The win condition is don't go too far. If we can't save that person getting engaged on, they back off right away.
Yeah, definitely too early in the game for them to go diving in on inhibitor turrets. Remember how quickly that call was made for the Baron. That was one of the earliest Barons that we've had in a while in the NALCS. 20 to 21 minutes is actually as early as you can go.
Darshan's getting to that nightmare Jarvan point.
Yeah, he's got the dream combo, right, of the Titanic plus the Black Cleaver, and gives you a suitable amount of health for your W shield to scale, so you're decently tanky when you jump in, but you also have plenty of damage to take down an AD carry, which is definitely going to be the main target. Follow that guy on your screen. Yep, he's the one to follow right now, because he will be the one in CLG sights. Luckily for Team EnVy, they do have double summoners on both their carries, and they have Thresh able to take him out of a dangerous situation for now.
Oh, the engages just don't stop. They can keep going. Apollo's gonna get tagged on the end. There's the stand united, but look at the range CLG can work with. Calling Seraph over now. The pressure's lost in bot, and CLG's pushing in again in 2 lanes.
Yeah, that Jarvan pushing is almost up at the turret. CLG continue to control this entire space, and now they can slip into the red quadrant, clear out all of the wards for Team EnVy. Baron number 2 is only 1 minute and 50 seconds away, which is reasonable for CLG to wait as long as they keep Team EnVy pinned up inside their base, and the vision expires. Right now, Dardoch gets hooked in again, though.
Always there.
Always there.
Right in the pocket. Whoever needs it. It's been Dardoch most of the time because Dardoch is on the front line, probably saying, fine to take a hook. We get movement forward every time we take one of those hooks.
Support and jungle, roaming together is always important, especially, in the early game, but it's even more so when you have a Tahm Kench. You can pretty much roam wherever you want to as the jungler up front if you know you've got Tahm Kench right behind you. And Aphromoo has easily been able to get Dardoch multiple times there with the Devour.
And making this one click. The Tahm Kench we saw yesterday versus Immortals never really got going. Props to Immortals as well for shutting it down, but CLG even said they weren't playing their game. Here, much more orchestrated and organized, and we can see the method to the madness, like you said. Dardoch, Aphromoo always moving around, and Darshan has controlled the pressure in the side lanes much better.
And for Team EnVy, it's kind of hard because we really wanted to use this game as, first impressions of Nisqy. Yeah, how is he going to fit into the team, and are they going to play differently? And it is a little bit different. Cassiopeia comes through, and he wanted to be this, late game scaling, but yeah, exactly. They're trying to scale still. It's just that the pace of the game hasn't really, been in his favor, and he's done okay in the mid lane. It's just that Cassiopeia, there's no way that you can actually keep up with the Aurelion Soul in those cross-map plays. And so we haven't really seen much demonstrated in that way. Seraph given a...
That's changing around a little bit.
A little bit of damage there. But again, the Baron that we mentioned, coming up in a couple seconds here, and CLG right back at it. Very quick here with the call. Double control wards down in the river. They should bait first and wait for a little bit of pressure, because Seraph, as you saw in that last trade, was able to gain momentum on that bottom side, pushing up his minion wave. So CLG trying to get back some on top and mid lane first before they really commit to this bait.
stand united up in just about 10 seconds, so not too much for Envy to have to wait for if they do get engaged on. CLG always looking for the small skirmish. Even in this engage, they feel stronger, or they can absorb an ultimate, get that box out of Hakuo, get an ult out of Niski, and just devour that target.
And I think that even though Envy feel pressured in this game, and you know, they've been on the back foot for, you know, almost 25 minutes or so here,
yeah.
If it would actually be good for them to try and go offensive. If they see any type of opening, any type of exposed member of CLG a little bit out of position and away from the Tahm Kench, I would not, you know, be too critical of them if they made one of those slightly more risky plays and they just go all in with a stand united and engage on that person. Because they actually are, you know, starting to get some decent combat power. And if you wait, CLG are just going to burn the Baron down. Double mountains.
Good try from Hakuo. But again, we see this Envy team having trouble clearing.
Oh, here he goes.
So they're not going to be able to push, let alone try to take these fights. Niski tries to go for the double petrifying gaze. He hits his targets, but who's going down first? It's Apollo. Niski hit on the left side. Seraph's Embrace goes down, but so does he. There is just too much damage from Counter Logic Gaming. Lyra's on the back, giving out heals, trying to throw in javelins, but they're all doing it in retreat as Envy limps away. And CLG come up big, only losing Aphromu.
Aphromu again starts off the team fight with the Abyssal Voyage, separating Envy and causing this panic and this scramble to come out. This is probably going to be a game-ending push with Baron already on CLG and only Lyra left alive.
Dipping and dodging, gets himself to safety, but that's not one to protect an entire Nexus. CLG slowly working through the base. Okay. They're going to do it the finite way they know how to do it. Take everything before we get to that next.
Yeah, death timers, it's only 31 minutes, so they're still a little bit short, and double inhibitors are still going to be such a large blow delivered to the Team Envy squad here in game number 1.
Backing out to just get even more. 3,500 gold in the pocket of Stixxay, 2,600 gold in the pocket of Fuhi. These guys, just too much money to even think about. Whoop. And they would probably have this dragon if they even want it. The Baron's used, they don't even have to waste time on it. But as they go towards bot and mid lane, maybe they take it on the way. We'll see this again.
All right, the double mountain power burning through the Baron for CLG, and then Aphromu comes in with Dardoch, even though they get nailed with the Cassiopeia ultimate there, and they get taken down eventually. Excuse me. The team fight, you know, played extremely well by the DPS members here of CLG. Fuhi on the Aurelian Soul is just such a beauty to watch, the way that he zones and lands so many slows for Stixxay to get his damage out, you know, as the AD carry. Aphromu with another power.
Bits him into the star! Seraph goes gazing, but he wants home quick. He gets out of that situation. CLG pressuring very hard as they make their way to the bot side here. Mid's already been pressured down. And it looks like the minion wave is there to help them. Darshan's going to help that make their way into the Nexus.
All right, Baron empowered super minions are on the way, and CLG are knocking at the door.
Knocking down the door. It's going to be gone soon.
Hold the door. It's gone.
Turned into kindling, the fire being started in Envy's base, I should say, by CLG. What is the engage? Hakuo with a tri-hook. Stixxay with a step to the side. Almost solos out Hakuo as they call for summoner heals and protection. Just to save the one member, they're looking for the base as well now. CLG gets all the inhibitors the way they like to as they move on to the Nexus turrets.
All right, CLG with a really commanding performance here in game number 1. People are wondering how they would respond after defeat. You know, they've had such a strong early start to this split. That's really the other question that people were waiting for. So not only did CLG with this opening, you know, have a pretty good and quick answer to that, but they also did it in such a way that does inspire a lot of more confidence for their macro game and their team play.
Now look at just organizing around who's going to be taking the damage, who's on the front line. Stixxay staying on the back. Huki right there next to Aphromu as well, ready to be devoured for safety. And you just see the method, as I've been saying, to this composition for Counter Logic Gaming. They kept putting it on that pick and ban list. We wondered if it would click, and it comes through here in their first game against Envy. And now we look, can Niski fight back for Envy? CLG take game 1.
Game number 1, 408 Jarvan, 404 Jin there for 6A on the bottom side. And of course the Aurelion Sol, as usual for CLG, creating so much pressure across the map with their roams. Take over the vision, and there's no safe place for Envy to defend.
In the one moment, even before level 6, if he leaves lane, it's kind of just like alert on the entire map. He could be coming straight through lane. He could be coming over the wall through lane. The way they play that, Counter Logic Gaming puts everything you do on their timer, and it makes it so hard to come back or even scale like we saw Envy trying to do here.
Yeah, and even though, you know, Dardoch did have some mistakes that they'll continue to look at and continue to point to with some of the more risky choices that he went, especially staying around for Krugs like that, that's just something where you kind of have to cut your losses and talk about. It's very little gold there for the Krug, and definitely not worth that risk. Aside from that, though, he did kind of reposition to pressure earlier before that around the mid lane to gain Huhi the space that you need to work with Aurelion Sol to kind of have this game plan work.
Relieve that pressure, give Huhi the kind of silver platter he needs to work on, and the rest of the team playing very well to boot. For more on that CLG victory, let's send it down to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much, Riv. CLG bouncing back from their loss to Immortals last night with a Game 1 victory here over Envy. But the thing that jumps out to me is Envy forgot the #1 rule of playing against CLG, which is ban Aurelion Sol. Why is this champion still getting through champion select in the hands of Huhi?
It's just because it's not like a meta champion, and you know, you feel bad banning it in the first round, then the second round, you're kind of like, there's some other things we can ban.
Yeah, and I mean, they're obviously trying to get like a good top lane because they wanted Shen, right? And if you want to play Shen, then you want to ban out some of the really lane dominant champions. Like Shen into Fiora is brutal, Shen into Jace can be pretty brutal, right? So they're trying to really enable their top lane, but it's that give and take. And you know, the reason it seems to always get through, or not always, but sometimes can, is that CLG has very deep champion pools and they can play a lot of styles. So it's honestly a hard decision, even though he's so good at it.
That said, usually there's a little bit longer of a buffer between when you need to get reminded that, yes, Huhi will smash you with Aurelion Sol. I think we saw it week 1. Usually that buys like 6 weeks.
Yeah,
3
exactly.
games now,
Yeah,
or
or
season
three,
or something, yeah.
And he performs so well on it every single time. But back to your point around deep champion pools and specifically that top lane matchup, we saw Jarshan jump for the J4 into the Shen matchup. And in all seriousness, that matchup in the top lane was a large factor in swinging this game in favor of CLG.
But not in the like a, oh, I smashed you in lane kind of way. The fact that when you pick Shen, usually, okay, I'll be even in lane, hopefully, and then I'll go make map plays to map, you know, get my advantages. But it's actually Darshan who was able to get on the map and make the biggest plays for his team. And it's pretty impressive to see that on a champion who doesn't naturally have some kind of global ability that enables him to make these kind of plays.
Yeah, exactly. You're down 1 global, and he still made more map plays. And I think this is something that I just want to talk about with Darshan, and we'll show those replays. You know, in general, you know, is the fact that he roams and he takes his advantages from lane. He uses them so well on the team when he's playing tanks, when he's playing fighters, such as Jarvan. I think he's exceptionally good at that. I think that for the same reasons that he's so good on these sorts of champions, he sometimes falters on the split push champion, where you should be more greedy, you shouldn't play for the team, but you know, here he actually saves his teleport, walks all the way down on the roam, and is able to get a lot out of it.
And it's because he's out of lane early. He's already going for Skull Crab control. He's always in the enemy jungle for vision.
Always threatening the roam.
Always threatening the roam. And so when this fight breaks out, he's actually only halfway down river, and he's like, all right, I can just run the rest of the way. And because he doesn't use his teleport in that, he's able to join in this bot lane fight while the Shen is down.
And because Seraph actually used his TP to get back to lane. So he goes for a greedy teleport. Darshan does not play for the lane, saves that teleport. They come down. Not only do they get 2 kills, they end up getting the first turret off this as well. And this was such a big turning point in the game.
Yeah, it was absolutely huge. As was mentioned last night, we saw him on the Fiora to, you know, to an unsuccessful degree in that he wasn't able to become that split push monster, kind of adjusting today, going more towards that fighter, grouping up with the team and really propelling them to the advantages they need in order to win this game. But I guess my question to you, Azael, is does that mean that CLG should be, you know, focusing in on compositions that don't demand Darshan to be a split push threat?
So what I would say is it's a shift in playstyle. I think that Darshan plays mechanically very well on champions like Fiora. I think he's really good at it. But we don't know, is it Darshan saying, okay, I'm going to go group and we'll kill them? Or is it the team calling him down? Because if the team is calling him down, you cannot blame Darshan for that, right? But either way, they need a paradigm shift. They need to allow him to play more greedy. This is similar to what we heard Aframu talking last year about Huhi, where Huhi gave up too much for the team sometimes. If Darshan is on Fiora, Fiora, he does not care about the rest of the team. He should play only for Darshan most of the time and really try to get himself ahead. So I think they can play both styles, but they need to change their team play style when they have him on the split push.
And I think it is worth, having him on both those split pushing and kind of tanky playmakers, just because it makes it so much more difficult to draft around. If you know
that, drop bans.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. If you know he's not going to play Fiora and Jace, you don't ban those two things. You get the Aurelion Soul ban in there. But because we've seen him play Fiora and actually do so successfully as well, I mean, we talk about him over roaming at times, but he still won games on it. It's not like you can ignore it.
Right, it's buying the team real estate in Champion Select. While we talk about him, it's important to note that he does receive Player of the Game for his performance on the Jarvan. But I do want to go back to the mid lane just real briefly and actually talk about Niski in his rookie debut. Of course, he was up against the likes of Huhi, and I feel like it makes it very tough to analyze his performance because so much of that lane is just trying to keep up with the push potential of the Aurelion Soul.
Yeah, and it's not just an Aurelion Soul, it's Huhi's Aurelion Soul.
Right.
So, of course, you're going to look kind of outmatched, and it's hard to really say, oh, Niski didn't look good or whatever, just because of matchup and the player he's against.
And to be fair, he actually did pretty well in lane. He was up in farm. I think he held his own there. I think the game was more about the team play and what the rest of the team got done. As far as the straight up 1v1, yeah, at the end of the day, the Aurelion Soul is more effective, but really it's Darshan that made the better plays, I think, coming down from the top side and swinging the game both in the mid lane and the bot lane. And we saw Niski, in my opinion, have a pretty solid first game. You can't draw too many conclusions, but you certainly cannot say he had a poor showing.
And we saw a lot of classic, envy elements, team elements kind of persist in this game in that all three lanes were actually winning in CS through kind of that middle portion of the game. And so while they were down 3 kills and 3 turrets, they were, only at 1 to 2K behind in that 25-minute mark, which is keeping themselves alive and extending the game at least as long as it did go.
The problem is it's a team game, of course, and so while it's nice that they're getting all these kind of individual advantages, there was a sequence where CLG actually took, I think, 4 turrets without getting a single kill, and that, it would be nicer if they had CS leads to get the lead even bigger, but it is impressive to see a team able to get so many map advantages just through rotations and smart play.
It also is pretty typical for CLG. They're actually the worst in the league as far as goal differential at 10, so they do often get behind by giving up these things, by threatening the roams, but they also succeed through team play. So it's, it's hard to criticize them for that when it's also one of their greatest strengths.
Well, they found their early lead against one of the teams that specializes in building early leads. Either way, CLG off to a hot start here today. We have to step away. When we return, it's Game 2 of Team Envy versus Counterlogic Gaming. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.